Picture this. You're making coffee. You glance outside, and a Tesla Semi is turning into your street, not delivering a car, delivering a house. A compact, foldable, move-in ready tiny home that drops onto a lot, unfolds like a pop-up. Miracle. And within a couple hours, it's standing there like it was always meant to be there. And the number people keep repeating? $7,999? Oh my God. A home for the price of a used laptop. And the wildest part isn't even the price. It's the free land angle and the zero tax claim that has everyone losing their minds. Because if early 2026 really becomes the rollout moment everyone's been talking about, we're not just watching a cool prefab trend, we're watching a potential reset button on homeownership. And today, I'm going to walk you through what the story says, how it supposedly ships, what's inside, and why the land deal is the most disruptive piece. And yes, there's one reality check we have to cover. But not yet. Because first, you need to see why this feels so believable. Okay, here's the thing. Housing right now feels like a trap. Average rent in the US is hovering around the $1,600 a month range, and in a lot of cities, it's way higher. Buying isn't much better. Prices are still in the hundreds of thousands world, and with mortgage rates still elevated, the monthly payment can feel impossible. There are housing researchers saying roughly 3/4 of US households can't afford a new median-priced home when rates are in the mid-6% range, because the income you'd need is basically 6 figures on steroids. So when people hear, "What if you could click order," and a finished home arrives, they don't scroll past. They lock in. Because the promise is simple: own something, without a 30-year leash. And that is why the $7,999 Tesla tiny house headline hits so hard. It's not about square footage. It's about freedom. And here's why Elon gets pulled into this so easily. He's talked about living modestly near his work in South Texas. He's publicly confirmed he owns a foldable, boxable unit. And whether you view that as minimalist genius or billionaire cosplay, it plants a seed in everybody's head. If Elon is comfortable living small, maybe the future of housing is smaller, smarter, and faster to build. So when the Tesla community starts connecting dots, Tesla Energy, solar roof, Powerwall, automation, gigafactories, and asks, wait, if Tesla can mass-produce cars, why not homes? That's when the tiny house chatter starts feeling not crazy. So what would a Tesla tiny house actually look like if it landed in your neighborhood? Let's break down the spec sheet people keep repeating, because the details are what make it feel real. Traditional houses are built like a custom project. Crews, delays, surprises. The Tesla way would be the opposite. Precision, repeatability, speed. No mortgage paperwork, no contractor chaos, no 6-month timeline that turns into 18. The most repeated version of this story is a roughly 280 square foot base module, pre-assembled in a factory with walls, kitchen, bathroom, wiring, plumbing, basically plug and play. And the leaked spec vibe gets super specific. People claim it's built around a reinforced steel frame, that the wall panels are composite layers, insulation sandwiched between rigid skins, like aerospace thinking applied to housing. Some versions even talk about ultra-tight tolerances and machine-built consistency. And honestly, that's why it spreads. Because it sounds exactly like how Tesla would talk about it, not drywall and studs, but modules and tolerances. Then comes the part everyone can visualize. It ships folded into a compact block, and on site, it unfolds, locks, seals, hooks up. So instead of months of construction, the promise is your home arrives, and it becomes a home the same day. But here's where it gets wild. The setup time people keep quoting isn't weeks. It's hours. Some versions say 1 to 3 hours for final hookups, meaning delivery in the morning, sleep in it at night. Crazy to think about, right? The dream isn't one tiny house in the desert. The dream is, it shows up where you already live. Picture the scene, a normal street. Kids on bikes, dog barking, then a semi backs in, quiet as a whisper compared to a diesel truck. A crew steps out, they drop the folded unit. Panels swing out, locks click, and suddenly your neighbor's empty lot becomes a real home in the time it takes most. Contractors to show up late and apologize. That's the emotional punch. Speed feels like magic. All right, enough teasing. Let's get into what everybody clicks for. What's inside? Because 280 square feet sounds like a closet until you see how it's allegedly laid out. The base design is usually described as 4 zones: living/lounge, sleeping setup, kitchen, bathroom. And the first thing that sells it is light. Big windows, high ceilings. People keep quoting around 9+ feet. That airy feeling that makes the space feel bigger than the number. And okay, lighting is a bigger deal than people realize, because a tiny space only feels tiny when it's dark and boxed in. The descriptions always emphasize huge windows, sometimes double pane for insulation, letting daylight pour in so the whole place feels bright and alive. Then at night, it switches to that warm LED glow. Clean, modern, efficient. And if the Tesla app control part is real, imagine tapping your phone and the lights dim. The temperature adjusts and the curtains glide shut. It's a tiny home that feels calm, not cramped. Living area? A clean little sofa, but it transforms. Pull it out and it becomes a bed. And yes, people even claim there's room for a wall-mounted TV, a tiny detail, but it matters because it screams real home. And storage is hidden everywhere. Shelves that feel built in, compartments that disappear into the walls. Because in a tiny space, clutter isn't messy. It's suffocating. Now the kitchen. Here's where everyone's skeptical. You can't cook in a tiny house, you'll smell BBQ for a week. Yeah, you'd think that. But the repeated feature list includes an induction cooktop, sink, mini fridge, oven, compact, dishwasher, plus vertical cabinets for storage. And then the Tesla-style flex, a fold-down table built into the counter. Flip it down, you eat. Flip it up, you get your space back. And some versions even claim there's an air filtration/ventilation system designed specifically to keep odors from camping out in your curtains. That detail alone makes people go, okay, someone thought about real life. Bathroom? Small but modern. Shower, toilet, minimalist sink, frosted glass privacy vibe. Not glamorous, just clean, functional, modern. And then the piece that makes it feel like Tesla, the control layer. Smart lighting, smart climate, sometimes even smart shades. All tied into an app-style interface the way Tesla already runs cars and energy. So you're not just living in a box, you're living in a system. Okay, but the inside is only half the story. Because the reason this is going viral isn't the sofa bed, it's the math. Let's talk about the $7,999 number and the free land and zero tax claims. That price isn't just cheap, it's category breaking. It's low enough that people start thinking, could I do this with savings? Could I finance this like a car? Could I buy one for my kid? Could I put one in my backyard and rent it out? And that last one? That's where this stops being a lifestyle trend and becomes a financial weapon. A backyard ADU, a rental studio, a guest home, a starter home. And when you realize the average person is paying almost $20,000 a year just to rent, suddenly $7,999 feels like an escape hatch. Okay, here's the deal. If a Tesla Semi pulled up tomorrow and offered you a finished tiny home for $7,999, would you trust it? Or would your brain scream, no way? What's the catch? Hold that thought, because the next part is the one that makes people either believe or laugh. This is the twist that turns the whole story into a movie. The claim that keeps spreading is that Tesla doesn't just sell the tiny home, Tesla helps solve the land problem. And land is the real bottleneck. In a lot of places, the land costs more than the building. So the idea is community zones, designated lots, micro neighborhoods. And early buyers allegedly get land access for free for a limited time, usually described as the first 2 years. Which means your cost isn't mortgage plus property tax plus rent. It's house, delivered, installed, start living. Now picture what that looks like. A normal suburban edge. A new pocket community appears. Same clean minimal design, solar glinting on roofs. Quiet, orderly, almost like a Tesla showroom. But people actually live there. That's why Hits Your Neighborhood feels plausible. Pilot communities, controlled rollout, then scale. And of course, Tesla's unfair advantage is energy. Because Tesla already sells solar roof and Powerwall. So the upgrade path people imagine is simple. Base tiny house, grid ready. upgrade package, solar plus battery plus app control. And then the off-grid fantasy, run lights, run a C, cook on induction, maybe even charge your EV, all from sunlight. Some versions of the story add water tanks, rain collection, filtration, gray water recycling, the whole self-sustaining ecosystem vibe. Whether all of that shows up day one or not, the direction makes sense. Tesla doesn't sell a house. Tesla sells an ecosystem. Okay. Now for the part that makes this go from cool to life-changing. Modularity. The base module is small, but the story says you can expand. Add modules side by side, or stack them, meaning you could start solo and grow when life changes. New partner, new baby, work from home, aging parents. Instead of sell, move, restart, it becomes add a module. And that's a huge mental unlock, because most people don't need a mansion. They need the ability to adapt. Imagine telling your friend, yeah, we needed an extra room, so we added one last month. Like it's a software update. Zoom out and you see why this goes viral. If something like this ever scaled, it wouldn't just be for influencers. It could be workforce housing, student housing, disaster relief housing, backyard ADUS, places where speed and cost matter more than granite countertops. It could even change how cities think about density, because you can add housing without a multi-year construction war. And if you want the ultimate Elon twist, people even connect this idea to Mars. Because a future where you build habitats fast, modular, and factory-made is exactly the kind of future Elon has been talking about for years. Okay, now we have to be real. As of the most reliable public reporting today, Tesla has not officially announced a consumer product where you can buy a $7,999 Tesla tiny house with free land and guaranteed zero tax. A lot of the viral Tesla tiny house story traces back to two very real things. One, Elon's public interest in small prefab living, including confirming he owns a boxable unit. Two, Tesla's history of building a Tesla tiny house demo back in 2017 to showcase solar. And Powerwall technology? Not a home for sale. That's where a lot of confusion starts. And the free land and zero tax claims? Those depend on local rules, zoning, permits, property taxes. And Tesla can't rewrite those. Everywhere. So if you're watching this thinking, where do I order right now? The honest answer is, there isn't an official Tesla checkout page for this package today. Could Tesla enter housing someday? Absolutely. The pieces exist, but the exact $7,999 plus free land plus zero tax bundle is right now more viral hype than confirmed. Product reality. Now I want to know what you think. If Tesla did release a tiny home like this, even if it was $15,000 or $25,000, modular, energy efficient, delivered fast, would you live in it? Would you put one in your backyard? Would you rather own a tiny Tesla home or keep renting a bigger place you never truly own? Drop your answer in the comments. I'm genuinely curious. And if you want more deep dives on Tesla, Elon, and the future tech stories that could reshape daily life, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Thanks for watching. Stay informed, stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next video.